So let's get into a lovely flow. Let's settle. So how does it feel to be you? Strange question to ask. How does it feel to be you? When we go about our day, we tend to absorb all sorts of energies. Sometimes we can lose ourselves in the external world, in conversations. We project so much of ourselves into the world, and so we sometimes we can forget actually who it means or what it means to be fully you. So in this moment, the invitation is to simply tune into that essence, whatever that is. And as always, starting off with full permission to do whatever pleases you. Sometimes we can take these practices in a very serious way. We forget pleasure. We forget playfulness. And just even when I hear myself say the word pleasure, it exudes a different quality, a different essence. It's like, how would it be to luxuriate in your own being? Imagine you're lying on a warm beach. The sun is beaming down. Your body's feeling great. The sound of the distant waves coming in and out. Or maybe you're in a spa in body temperature water and you just feel like you're floating. That sense of ease, letting go, letting in, letting be. Now this is to luxuriate in yourself. Can you allow that sense of luxuriating right now? And retaining that for yourself. So allowing yourself to be as you are and really expanding and inhabiting, encompassing more of you, more and more and more. Every tiny little crevice. So often we hold our tummy in to see if you can allow your belly to be soft here. This is for your own pleasure. So much of our day-to-day life at work, with our colleagues, with our families, seems to entail sort of serving others or being in service to, being helpful, being useful. Sometimes that can enlist the people-pleasing parts of ourselves. We seem to contort ourselves into the shapes that we feel people want us to be. Now, this next 40 minutes is about expanding for your own pleasure. So, how would it be that for the next 40 minutes we're focused on pleasure? Rather than attempting to heal or fix, change any part of ourselves. And the invite here is, maybe as you hear me say the word pleasure, or maybe as you recount the word pleasure in your mind's eye, or whispering or saying it out loud, extending the sounds for as long as you want, just see what effect it has on your body. So, for me, the word pleasure wants me to roll my joints. It wants me to start to move my body, to lubricate the places where bones meet. This is the effect it seems to have on me. It wants me to flow. See what it does for you. And notice what the connection is in between your breath and a sense of pleasure. We think of breathing as a sort of a mundane, ordinary thing. Have you had that experience when you get to the top of the mountain and you just take that breath and you're like, ah, feels so good to breathe? Or imagine if you were to be stuck in an elevator, in a lift, for a couple of hours, and then suddenly to be able to come out of there into space, into spaciousness. Imagine being able to breathe. This is breathing with pleasure. Or after you've just had a very satisfactory workout, or a run, a jog, dance. Imagine that every time oxygen meets the surface of your lungs, there's rapture, absolute, your lungs are in total pleasure to receive oxygen. Each time we breathe, even the times when we're breathing a little bit more anxiously, when we're nervous for a job interview or going on a first date, or still the lungs are pleased to receive air, even if the thinking mind has something else to say about that. And notice how it feels to breathe. Maybe notice the spaces in between the breaths too. The silent, pregnant pauses in between breaths, in between pleasure. The still points in between movement. And notice if you have a desire to make any sounds at the end of your breaths on the exhale. Maybe a sighing, a yawning, humming, umming, stretching, and still staying with that sense of luxuriating through the body. And if you're on the ground, you might have a little go at rolling around, even experimenting with moving the knees, the hips. And for me, what I'm hearing in my inner world when I think about the word pleasure is I just get a permanent sound of mm. Mm. It's sort of like a satiated, full feeling, full of myself. Not in an arrogant way, not in an inauthentic way that masks lack of self-worth, but full of my vitality, my energy. In IFS, that could be self energy. And I literally feel a sense of it lifting every part of my body and almost radiating outwards. And see how it feels for you to play with that sense of letting out a sound, something close to a mm. Notice how it vibrates through the throat, in the heart center. You notice a sense of tingling in the body. In effect, we're being curious about what it's like to feel you for your sake, for your benefit, containing your own energy. Not for the outer world, but for the inner world. There might be a part that says, oh, thank God, I don't have to wear my mask. I can just be me. Another part might think, oh, I don't know how to be me. Who am I? Who is me? See if you can stay curious and open to receiving any messages from your parts as you tune into this sense of yourself and expanding, especially through the lower body. Soften the belly, soften your sitting bones. Imagine there's half an inch of area around your tummy. Can you take that space up now? Can you let the tummy soften so much that you take an extra half an inch outwards? Claim it. Claim that space. And pay attention to any parts that might have something to say about taking up space. That might be worried about the appearance of your body. And imagine that the tiny little cells of the skin of your tummy rejoice and take pleasure in stretching expanding, relaxing, letting in, more self energy. I get a sense of shimmering, just the surface of the skin. You know, when you look at the surface of water, when the sun is shining, billions of glinting little waves reflecting the sun's luminance and beauty, radiance. This is how the surface of my tummy right now feels. And you might have your own energy there. There might be something else going on there. Just as sacred, just as important, just as wise. Just if there's any comparing parts. And allow yourself to sigh. Breathing can be so cleansing and sighing it out. Sometimes letting out an ah sound. The ah sound is the vowel sound of the heart chakra. Ah. And when I do that and place my hand on the heart center, I feel the resonance. And then, like a tuning fork, I notice that the rest of my body starts to tune into that sound of releasing, sound of letting be. Mm. Mm. In the Northern Hemisphere, we're about to welcome spring fully. Nature is about to show us her glorious verdant green. And that's the color of the heart chakra here. Freshness, newness. Had you noticed the birds been busy? They've been singing louder. Birds carrying twigs in their beaks, building their nests. We're being really sang to by nature. It's inviting freshness. Ah. Makes me think of that lovely quote by Lao Tzu. He says, nature doesn't hurry and yet everything is accomplished. See if you can stay with your inner nature, with your inner habitat, with self as the original, the primal, the native essence of this inner habitat, inner world, inner nature. For your own pleasure. So that you can be full of yourself. All the way to that extra half an inch outside of your tummy. Extra half an inch. See if you can really inhabit that. Never mind that your heart is currently effortlessly radiating its waves out at least 3 feet. Let the heart do what it does. See if you can take up an extra half an inch. That's all. That's plenty. Mm. And just notice if this is a pleasurable thing for you. Maybe some parts of you think they're still somehow wanting to heal, gain something from this. Maybe there's some parts here that are planning the rest of the day, worrying about some tasks, organizing the future. And maybe some parts truly are enjoying giving yourself this space and time just to be. just to be full of yourself. And see if that phrase can land not in an arrogant way, but in a self-confident, with courage, with creativity, with clarity. With curiosity, compassion, connection, calm. You can really allow the body to take in, to absorb, to expand into these 8 C's of self. And see if you can get a sense that it's a pleasure to be. We're human beings, not necessarily human doings. It's a pleasure to be. Maybe some parts are only just meeting for the first time. This sense of pleasure in beingness. Welcome. Welcome home. Yeah. You do have some parts here that are really opening up to the possibility of pleasure in beingness. You can allow them to explore this space in your inner world. There's this beingness come with a certain color, a certain sensation in the body. Maybe there's an image. What's the signature of beingness for you? Sometimes it's nice to play around with this as we get curious, as parts gain courage. We can begin to notice and explore our sense of beingness in different ways. So if you normally have your eyes closed for meditation, see how it feels to open your eyes. If you're normally sitting upright or lying down, see if you can explore with a different position. Notice how you're not a static being, you're a moving, flowing, fluid being. So notice how it feels to explore different ways. Can you see each way as a facet? A little bit like tiny little facets on a diamond, reflecting beauty and light. Each way of being, each roll and twist of the hip, any crackles in the knees, everything reflecting and singing back to you that you're here, that you're present, that you are alive. Just as the birds are busy building their nests. Everything announcing your presence in the world, your birthright. So exploring, pleasure in exploring, pleasure in flowing from one state of being to another. Eyes open, eyes closed, lying down, sitting up. When we practice this, when we extend ourselves beyond the part's comfort zone, we find that everywhere we go, every position we take, every breath that rolls through our lungs happens within the awareness of self. Self is always at the center of every experience. Self is always here. Every shape, every crackle of the knees, every blushing of the cheeks. Self is there. Self isn't in only perfect postures, in perfect breathing, in slim tummies, wrinkle-free faces. Self is everywhere, in every wrinkle, in every cell. Every imperfection is perfect for self. Just right. In fact, it cannot be any other way. So play, play, allow yourself to play. You can't go wrong. You can't disappoint self. You can't break or damage, hurt, reject, or abandon self. Self is even in the coughing, sneezing, self is not afraid to get ill. And most importantly, self is not afraid to die. Although it has compassion for parts that do fear getting ill or dying. This is how bravely, unabashedly, confidently, compassionately self walks into everything, everything that you are, everything that every being is, that has ever been and will ever be. This is the truth. How's that verdant green in your heart? How's the sound of your voice resonating in your chest? You're all on mute, so you're welcome to make as much noise, laughter, sighing, growling, yawning. How do the animal parts of your inner world sound? The wise owl the mama bear, the eagle, the cunning fox, the sweet and innocent kitten. And how are you enjoying yourself right now? How might your inner world serve you better right now, just for you, for your pleasure? What needs to happen for your full comfort? How are you still withholding your light from yourself? Where are you keeping yourself small? Where are you overdoing? Where being would suffice? Mm. So much about pleasure is to do with just being. When we force, when we strive, when we attempt to make something happen against its own will, that can cause pain. Sometimes it's a necessary pain, sometimes it's growing pains. When you were a teen and overnight you suddenly shot up a couple of inches and you felt growing pains. Sometimes they're a necessary thing. So where can we make space for the pain of growth? And where do we need to let go of the pain of striving, resisting, rejecting, not welcoming what is? So as we come to the end of this meditation, just see if you can send some gratitude to your parts for joining you, if that feels right. See if you can signal to your parts that we're going to transition. And see if you can begin to allow the body to return to the here and now. If you've taken yourself on a journey, see if you can start to trace your way back, to orient yourself around the space that you're sat in, the room that you're in, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me.